What is going on, guys? Alex here, and this is the OnePlus 2, the surprisingly still awesome phone despite being 2 years old. Let's get into it. So as with all my videos, let's just start with the design. Around the back we have the original OnePlus sandstone back, which isn't my favourite material, but it's okay. As you gradually use this phone out of the case, you kind of do get used to it. When I first used it, I really didn't like it all that much, but now I'm pretty much used to it, so it's pretty nice. This back panel does actually come off and swap it for ones like Kevlar or bamboo, so that you can get different patterns and make your phone a bit more custom. The one fault with the back design that I found is the camera placement is way too low for my personal use. When I'm taking a photo, most of the time I'm holding it like this, and you can see my finger just crops up over the camera, which just kind of ruins every photo that I take on this phone. And it is something that I had to get used to, holding it like this whilst trying to take a photo. It's kind of uncomfortable. That's just one of the things that I'm glad in the OnePlus 3 and 3T they fixed. Just above that camera we have the dual flash, and below it we have the laser autofocus. The camera itself is actually a 13 megapixel unit with optical image stabilization. That image stabilization is actually pretty damn impressive. And what I'm going to do right now, which I should be doing in every phone video I do, I'm actually going to point the camera in video mode at me and literally just talk so you can get an idea of the sound quality and the video quality all in one. So I've got it in camera mode right now, and I'm gonna go press record. So yeah, this is the OnePlus 2 camera quality, and as you can see on the back there, you can actually see the laser autofocus just working right there. That's the camera that I'm currently shooting with. There's the monitor and the microphone. And the back camera I think is pretty impressive. It's actually better in photo mode than it is in video mode, definitely. Video quality's alright. I found the photos that you take with this camera a little bit over sharpened, and that's down to the software. There's a little bit too much sharpening, as you can tell when something's over sharpened when you look at it. I found that this camera is susceptible to that, but that's easily fixed, so it's not a very big problem. But the colors that it shoots are very nice, and it's actually pretty accurate. And as for the selfie camera, well, this is where things get a little bit weird. You'd expect the selfie camera to actually be pretty decent, as the back camera is pretty awesome. But actually, as you get onto the selfie camera, you'll notice that you get this really low frame rate effect. And it's not just in Snapchat, which I'm currently using to show you, but you can just see here as I move it, you can see it's just really laggy. There's no fix to this, and I found it's also in the OnePlus camera app. So if I switch to the selfie camera, it's got this low frame rate thing. This means that I can't really post Snapchats of me talking about new videos that I've made. I was quite used to my Nexus 5X when I could Snapchat things on that, but unfortunately this camera really does suck, so that's a big disadvantage that you guys need to be aware about before you buy this phone. So around the edge of the phone you'll find the aluminium casing, and this actually goes all the way around the phone, even at the bottom, and the buttons are made of aluminium. This gives really good structural rigidity to the phone, so if you drop it on the side, it's not going to get damaged like the OnePlus 1 would, and it probably won't crack the screen in that case. Along the top of the phone is the headphone jack, you know, that like one connector that people still use. And along the bottom of the phone is the USB-C port, which for a phone of 2015 is actually pretty impressive. Taking this port actually did future-proof the phone, so now I'm able to use all my USB-C adapters that I have at home, because I have a lot of those, which is definitely a big improvement from micro USB, because you're actually able to charge your phone much faster with this connector. On either side of the USB-C port is the microphone and speakers. Now the speakers really don't sound amazing, but they're not Android standard, if that makes any sense, because if you guys know, Android speakers tend to be absolutely crap. I feel like these speakers are the midpoint between Apple speakers and Android speakers, because you guys know that Android speakers suck and Apple speakers are actually pretty damn awesome. This is like the mid-ground. There's not enough bass to actually make them sound decent, and they do sound quite tinny and very treble weighted, but they don't actually sound all that bad. Around the front of the phone is the screen. Like, who would have thought? So guys, this panel is a 1080p 5.5 inch LCD panel with a DPI of 441 pixels per inch. You can't see pixels when you look up close at it, and I actually do think the color representation is pretty nice and pretty accurate. It's not the brightest of screens that you will ever use, but it is actually pretty damn awesome. The only advantage of using LCD screens rather than AMOLED screens means that they're a lot cheaper to fix. The replacement screen for this phone that I have was only £17, and it's literally the same as an official OnePlus screen, and it works perfectly. Had no problems so far. So that's the only advantage of having an LCD, is that they're cheaper parts to repair it. The fingerprint sensor is placed at the chin of the phone, and this scanner is one of the most reliable I've used. It's pretty fast, but not the fastest out there. Just to the sides of the fingerprint scanner are the capacitive touch buttons, which are actually on the screen. You have an option of having these backlit. Personally, I didn't want them backlit, so you can turn that off in Oxygen OS, and these are actually much better than using up your screen real estate. So they're literally just on the side, and you can press like the back button, the home button, and then the multitasking one. So, you know, they're pretty useful, and they're a typical OnePlus type of thing to do. The battery life on this phone is actually really damn awesome. It has a 3300 mAh battery, which in my experience actually charges up from 0 to 50% in about half an hour using the Nexus 5X charger. The battery itself lasts me pretty long during the day. I tend to be able to leave home, go to school, and come home and still have about 30 or 20% left with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and data on all day. So that's a pretty good representation, and I use my phone mostly to listen to music during school days, but I'd say I probably get around 4 to 5 hours of screen usage before the battery will die. So this is the Nexus 5X charger that I actually use to charge it up, and it gives an output of 3 amps. So that's the current that it sends from the charger to the phone, and it actually manages to charge the phone from 0 to 100% real quick. About an hour actually. And the latest Oxygen OS build for the OnePlus 2 isn't actually a very good version of Android. It's actually Android 6.0.1. There has been nothing in the news of this phone getting Android 7, so that is actually a really big disappointment. I'm looking for another OS that will actually support this phone going to Android 7, because I kind of missed that, especially as I was using the Nexus 5X just before I was using this. I kind of really miss having Android 7 because you have all the different features like the Pixel launcher. Oxygen OS itself is actually a pretty nice look. It also allows you to have a bit more customization, so you can choose a light or a dark theme, and you can also set custom icons on your apps, just giving you a little bit more customization. Okay, so now let's move on to the specs. This phone has a Snapdragon 810 paired with 4GB of RAM. These two work really well together paired with Oxygen OS to actually give a really fluid and fast Android experience. I have never had this phone lag on me whilst I was doing anything, so it's not like the iPhone 4S. The one that I'm using currently has 64GB of built-in storage, which you cannot upgrade by SD card, so just be aware of that, but you do get dual SIMs. Personally guys, I think this phone is definitely one of the best phones you could get right now, especially for the price that you can pay for it. Just going through eBay, you'll see them ranging from £230 to £280 as a pretty much guide of selling. I'm lucky because I got mine for 50 all in all with a new screen. It's pretty easy to repair, but it isn't the best candidate for repairability. Although it's not the thinnest, has a big battery, and that's the one thing we will sacrifice in order to get a thicker phone. We want bigger battery lives. No, it's not the thinnest of phones, no, it's not the fastest of phones, and no, it doesn't have the best cameras or the best screen. It is definitely a competitor for some of the best phones out there. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, go and subscribe. Go check out my new website. There's a link up in that top corner up there. There's one of those cards. Feel free to subscribe if you like the content you're seeing. I'm trying to push as many videos as possible through exam season, but as soon as that's over, I'll be doing 2 or 3 videos a week. So stay tuned for that, and thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you in my next video.